Thanks for joining us for another episode of Mid-American Gardener. I'm your host, Tanisha Spain, and joining me in the studio today are two of our favorite panelists that you are no doubt used to seeing. We've got Kay and Marty in the house today. So and go ahead and introduce yourselves, and then we'll jump in with questions and show and tell. So go for it.
Well, I'm a Champaign County master gardener. I love herbs and vegetables. I help with the herb garden out at Allerton Park and just keep busy with my herbs.
Excellent. Okay. All right, Marty.
I am not a master gardener, but a lot of people think so, so I just tell them I play one on TV. Probably my favorite genre are perennials and small shrubs for the home garden. Landscape, you know, how to get the most bang for your buck.
Okay. Excellent. And we do have some of those questions that came in today. So, Kay, we'll start with you on your show and tells. What'd you bring in?
Well, I brought some of kind of variety of bean seeds.
You're not fooling us. You brought drugs. Look at those bottles.
So, yeah, bean seeds can be all different colors and shapes and sizes. This one happens to be called Marconi. It's a black seed.
Is that from like a black bean?
Yes, and it actually, the pods are green, and the beans, they're good to cook with the pod on, but then the dried beans can also be cooked.
Oh, okay.
And they're used like a black bean.
Gotcha.
And these are all heirloom varieties. So this one is called Brinker Carrier, and it's a white bean. This is your typical white bean that you see in the grocery store.
Gotcha.
Like a navy bean.
Yes,
Yeah,
type.
okay.
And this is a pole bean, and you can also, like the others, you can use the pod, cook the pod, or you can cook the bean itself.
Now, when you say pole beans, let's give people, can you explain the difference between a pole and a bush?
Yes, a bush bean doesn't grow very tall.
Okay.
It's kind of like like your green beans, they're usually bush beans, and they might get a foot or two tall. Pole beans will grow up, so you have to give them support.
Okay.
And they can grow and grow and grow.
And it'll say on your seed pack, hopefully, which ones you
Yeah,
got,
sure,
so
yes,
that
yeah.
you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be mad.
They do. They usually say.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
And this one is kind of a funky tan color,
Well, sure good in that green lid, though.
and that's called Anti-Wilder's bean, and it's a pole bean, and the pods on this one are purple.
Ooh.
And you can still cook
those
them,
in
you know, just because they're purple doesn't mean you can't cook them for eating, but they will turn green when you cook the pod.
Now, flavor-wise, which of these are your favorite to eat,
gosh,
or do you like them all?
I like them all.
Do you do a lot of soups, or do you do a lot of beans like as a side dish? How do you enjoy yours?
I freeze a lot of green beans.
Oh.
To have during the winter. You can do soups with, it kind of depends on the bean. Not all of them are really great for soup.
Okay.
But you can do soups just however you want to cook beans.
Okay. All right. Anything to add there, Marty?
I love pole beans because you don't have to bend over to pick them.
Yeah, yes.
I grow pole beans exclusively because,
So, okay, while we're talking
big
about
garden.
beans and seeds, I brought in some of mine from home from last year, and I wanted to ask you ladies, when you're looking at leftover seed, Marty, if you wouldn't mind,
Sure.
is there anything that you need to inspect or look for? You know, if you pull out some seeds,
It's open.
it's
I
open.
might have pointed that out earlier. Okay.
What do I
alrighty.
need to look for, or do you inspect these, or how do you know that they're good from year to year? What do you ladies do?
Gotta pull
Not really anything. I mean, you can look at them,
Okay.
but sometimes insects there'll be like grainy stuff if they've gotten into them.
Yep.
But I've not had problems with anything bothering any of my
But as long as you
seedlings.
keep them dry and
Yeah, you want to
in
keep
the
them
packs.
dry. Probably, I keep mine in the refrigerator. I have a refrigerator on our back porch, which is
just for seeds,
full
probably.
of
Yeah.
the seeds.
Yeah, yes. Okay.
I was going to say, being the wannabe master gardener that I am, and oh yeah, by the way, open your packages from the top just for fun.
I had to be different.
It's like, hey, I'll just see these? Can you see those in my hand? Can you get a close up there? Okay, these are a 3-bean blend. I didn't even have to read the packet because that's what I do. These beans, these are different. These are probably yellow and green and purple. You can buy like a green bean that you would do. There goes another one.
Boy,
That's
Marty's just going to have to owe
I
me a
know.
pack of seeds.
So I'm gonna be picking them up.
Because I'm
like
watching.
picking up.
Kay's got extra.
I'm gonna be on like a chicken on the floor here later. Obviously, don't plant any broken beans.
Okay, that's good to know.
And you can also look and see if there's any stones in them, like you would when they're, but don't bother to plant broken beans. Yeah, these are bush bean, 3-color blend. It'll tell you all, some poor little Bob Cratchit had to sit with his candle and write all this stuff. So read it. It'll be very helpful.
And these are both bush beans, the two that I don't have any pole beans, but I still use like a small tomato cage because they are, they'll lean
They
on
do.
you.
Yeah, if you take pretty good care of them, they get taller than they're supposed
Yes,
to. And then the
yes.
beans are at the top, and they, that's another thing. Pole beans, you don't have to dig underneath them. They don't get splashed with dirt from the garden if you
yes.
don't mulch or anything like that. La la la.
Just
You just
go and
stand
pick
there.
and pull.
Yeah, like a
Well, I might have
humanoid
to switch
instead of
one day.
bugging around. Oh, you'll get old. It's coming. I'm waiting for that call.
Yeah.
Marty, I got it.
Marty, I made
Bush
the
bean.
switch.
I can't stand it.
All right, let's see. Let's do another question. Kathy from Springfield writes in, I have an older Weigela bush. Now that the branches are bare, I can see a large older part in the center. Should I prune this out sometime to allow the newer branches to come up? So let me pull up these pictures. And she's talking about there's a lot going on in the center there. There's the full photo. So what are your thoughts on whether or not or when she should shape this up, prune it, and give it a little bit more,
Kathy, was it?
Yes.
Kathy, Weigela come in a couple different varieties. They got some new varieties now that rebloom. Like the Sonic Bloom series comes in red and pink, and they'll put on a big flush in the spring like all Weigela do. And then they kind of poodle around in the summer, and then they put a big flush on when the weather gets cooler in the falls, and they're lovely. But I mean, the old classic Red Prince is a very nice variety as well, but it doesn't bloom the same way. So if your Weigela is older and it blooms a big old blast in the spring, but not in the fall, I would wait until it blooms in the spring this year, and then I would cut it completely down and let it rejuvenate. Because the more new growth you have next year, the more flowers you're going to get. Spring bloomers bloom on the old wood, like Weigela, lilac, those kind of things. Spirea, don't trim those in the spring. You cut all the flowers off. So forsythia does that too. If it's the kind that blooms pretty well twice a year, I'd wait for it to bloom this year. It's a booger because all the leaves are on, but I'd take that extra wood. You can take it out now if it's convenient, or you can take it back and prune it back a little bit. But I see you've got it someplace where it can romp. I like that because Weigela and forsythia and spirea, they need to explode like the fireworks they are. You know, when they bloom, they're just like this fantastic eye-catching blast of color. And when you prune them back, they just look like they went to jail. It's bad.
So enjoy it for this season.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, if it's the
give it a
kind that doesn't
haircut.
bloom that much in the fall, once it's bloomed this spring, cut it down.
Okay.
How far back should you cut it?
6 or 8 inches.
I mean, that's a pretty intense
Yeah.
haircut.
It is, but Weigela need rejuvenation, just like spirea need rejuvenation, like forsythia need rejuvenation. Burning bushes need rejuvenation or they just go ape. So
Okay.
you can get that big stuff out now when it's easier to see if it's one of the ones that blooms all summer, essentially. But if it just puts on a big blast in the spring and then that's it, wait till it blooms, enjoy the flowers, and then just give it a haircut and do it right after it blooms, because that way, like I said, you'll have enough time for new growth to come on and harden off before the winter weather comes. And then you'll have fantastic blooms next spring.
Okay. All right. Dan Sullivan writes in, we start our vegetable seeds indoors around March 15th every year. Because of the higher than normal temperatures this year, should we start their seeds earlier? And will our last frost date be earlier, do you think? So, two-part question. Everybody's itching to get out there because we've had some lovely, lovely weather.
It's a lie. It's all lies. It's lies.
I like that chart where it says where we are. Full spring, second winter, third winter, second full spring.
Yeah.
So we're in that chart somewhere.
Yes,
but
we are.
Would you start your seeds early, or would you stick to?
It depends on what you're starting.
Okay.
If you're starting something that's cold hardy, like some of the greens, you know, things like that, okay. Hot weather tomatoes and peppers, I usually wait till about the 1st of April. Because you don't want them to get too big before you can put them out, and you don't want to risk putting them out when it's cold.
Okay.
So
I think they transplant better when they're a little smaller
They
too.
d- yeah,
I think
they
they
do.
establish more quickly. Yeah.
yeah, they do.
Okay. Fair. Let me. And then the second part of that question is, do you guys have a hunch that we will see our last frost date move up a little bit?
This year it's hard to tell, you know, because it's getting hot
It's
and
already
then,
been
then
like
it gets
this,
cold,
yeah.
and you know, you never know what it's going
Yeah.
to do. It's Illinois.
The weather's
It's true.
yeah, the weather's an aphib around here all the time, so it's zigzagging up and down.
Yes, it is.
I would. We were talking about this before the show because we kind of review the questions, and I was also going to add that if you start your tomatoes and peppers, you can. If you start them early, and the weather stays cold, you can't get them out or muddy or whatever it is. You can still start them on the 15th, but you have to. You're going to have to start them small because they're like children. You know, children start out in little shoes and then their shoes get bigger and bigger. So you can't start it in a pot this size and let it go. You're going to have to start it in cell packs or something. But when they get bigger and it's still too cold, you're going to have to put it into a 4-inch pot, or, you know, and maybe one more before you're able to plant them outside. And when you put them outside, put some kind of protection around them. Get them. You know, make a tomato box, or I like milk jugs because they're recyclable at the end of the season. You can cut the bottom out, cut a little bit of the top, leave the handle. Very handy. You can also thread them on a pole or a rope like that if they survive.
Now you're getting real fancy.
I am.
I
Use it up, wear it out, make it do or do.
We
that.
posted this
So-
on our Facebook a couple of weeks ago, but Chuck's sowing guide for transplanting, and I just pulled it up to look at it briefly, and he's got tomatoes, starting tomato seeds between April 1st and 15th.
That's about what I do.
Yeah.
And I
Concur on
start
that?
them in the, you know, the packs, the trays.
cell packs?
With,
6 inch,
you know,
yeah. Not the little teeny round ones, but the
No.
6-packs.
yeah.
Yeah, I do too. That's what I use.
And then let's see, he's got melons and things towards the latter part of April, but I'm seeing, let's see, dill, fennel, kohlrabi, lettuce, cauliflower, broccoli, and cabbage. Are we now comfortably in those ranges? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
If you had a little bit of a cold frame, you could plant them outside.
Okay.
But you're going to have to protect them from weather and critters. So,
Okay.
you know, those are all extra
Right on
tough.
schedule. And
Extra
you can
tough.
find this guide on our Facebook. Just look for Mid-American Gardener and look for Chuck's smiling face on our post there. All right, let's get back to a couple more questions. Let's see. Gina writes in, if I didn't get all my tulip bulbs in the ground in the fall, can I plant them now that the ground is no longer frozen? This happened to me too. This happened to me too.
So what'd
What are
you
your
do?
thoughts? Well, so I put them in a pot this year.
Good idea.
Instead of putting them in the ground, I put them in a pot. But
That's a good idea.
I don't know. If you tried to put a tulip bulb in the ground now, do you think it would flower? Do you think it's? We think we could get it?
Probably won't.
Probably
flower.
not. Probably won't.
It needs to establish itself in the ground like a perennial, which is what it kind of is.
Okay.
You can try potting them up like Tanisha did, and you can also put them in a refrigerator because they need that cold period, and then they'll develop roots in that pot. I mean, you can do, and if you're gonna pot them like for a spring bloom in the house, you can do like in a 6-inch pot. You can probably do 5 bulbs. You cram them in there, because they're only going to do one thing, and they're going to do it in that pot. So, you know, get more bang for your buck, as I have said before. So, yeah, plant them in there, put them in the bottom part of your refrigerator for a few weeks. I can't remember exactly how long you need to leave them. What, like a month, I think?
Yeah, probably.
And then you can take them out, put them in a sunny window, give them some water. They'll start to grow, and they might bloom. They likely will bloom. But then when they're done blooming, plant them in the ground. Even in the summer, just get them in the yard somewhere. Get them in the bed somewhere.
I'm listening too, because like I said, I have a big pot that I had to end up doing because I did not get them in. So as soon as they're spent, get them in the ground.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the tops will die back just like all the other tulips in your yard.
My tulips are all up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're growing like crazy.
Yes.
So.
Yep.
I've had people stop and
too.
ask, is it too early? My tulips and my daffodils and everything are up.
No,
And
no.
especially the ones that are close to the house. A lot of people are asking about that.
No.
Right on schedule.
God knows how to do tulips.
I was going to say, they know what they're
They
doing.
are fine.
They know what they're doing.
They can get snowed on. They can get frozen. It doesn't matter. They'll still come on.
So I've got a bowl of black eye Susans. Some are still on the head, on the seed head. Is that what we're saying here? And then some of them are not. And I honestly, when I went to go save these late last summer, I just threw them all in here. Should I take them off of the seed head, or can I plant these as they are? And what would you do to get a nice? I like how they look, and I just want to get a nice little patch established. So I've got some that are seed, and then some that I haven't taken off. So how would you do those? Would you take them off the seed heads?
I'd take them off if I could get them off.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Usually I just put them in the bowl, and my 8-year-old is the designated shaker.
I was going to say, put them in there, snap the lid on, and shake the snot out of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Or the seed, as it were.
Not the kid, the seed.
The seed.
When should I put these out? Would you wait until after a frost, or do you think I could get away with sprinkling these down now?
I think I'd try to start a few in the pot just to see what your germination looks like.
Okay.
And you can transplant them then outside. Oops. Obviously, they're a warm weather plant. Sunflowers are. But if it were me, I think I'd try to do, several in a 6-pack anyway.
Just check them.
See what your germination looks like. See how they go. Transplant them out when the weather's warm, like tomato and pepper weather. That has to be dry. It has to be warm for those, like melons and things. And then take the other ones and sprinkle them in the area if you want.
Just check.
Delineate, because they take a little room,
Yes.
Well,
So-
in nature, when would they drop those seeds?
In the
If
fall.
you leave them.
Yeah.
So they would have
So
spent the winter out there.
Yeah.
This is when we were moving. I was just running like snatching
yeah.
flower heads off
my gosh.
so I could take a few things with me. And then these are blackberry lilies
Yes.
now, or also wait a little bit longer until it's warmer.
Mine would come up when I would seed them.
Okay.
I mean, they'd seed themselves and they come up in the spring. I think I'd do the same thing there.
Okay.
See how they do. And I don't, Kay, do you know if you have to scarify those at all?
That was my next
I
question.
don't know. I hope not. They're pretty small, but
They
you
are
could
pretty
do
small.
it. There's ways
And
to
that
do it.
is where can you explain what that is?
Yeah, scarifying on like large hard seeds, like a hickory nuts or something like that. You need to break that outer shell of the seed, and you don't have to break it a lot. Like you can take a little file and just
sandpaper.
scratch a place. Yeah, I was going to say that too. With things like this, these are so small. You can take some coarse sandpaper and just rub it on there until you can't until you can't see that black outer shell it's shiny, and when you see, this one's kind of collapsing here. Yeah, some of these aren't. Yeah, you wanna just cut through this little dude. You can do it with a knife, or like I said, you can do it with sandpaper. You can do it with a small file, something like that. But just to crack that outer shell a little bit, so that so when the seeds swell up, they can emerge more easily, and they can just push that shell off. I'd do the same thing.
Yeah, okay.
I'd start some in 6-pack, and then
chomping
keep
at
the
the
other
bit.
ones. Yeah. Well, there you go. You can put them in, start them in there, and see what they do. And again, once you have 6 of them, or 12, or whatever you decide to start, you can decide where you want them. Delineate that area with the plants you have up already, and then scatter the seed in the middle and see what you get.
Okay.
At least you'll know where they go.
That's true. That's true.
That's the beauty part of that. It's like, where did I put this?
Where did this go?
Yeah, you can't just go.
Another
and hope
question
they
that
do.
I get a lot is, do greenhouses count as hardening off? So let's say I start a tray of tomatoes inside, and it's not quite planting time out. Can I put them in an outdoor greenhouse, and will that harden them off? Or do they actually have to be outside exposed to unfiltered sun and,
That's a good question.
I think you could step them down in a
Okay.
greenhouse.
Yeah.
If
But
it's
that
gonna
final
get-
outside step
start
is a
mine in a
step.
greenhouse.
Yeah, it just
because
depends
it's
on.
warm. But there's not a lot of light comes in, so I set them out the trays out during the day so they get the sun.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sit until they get bigger, and then I transplant them to
Okay.
bigger pots.
So that outside step is definitely still
It is. It is. If you got
necessary
some place.
before you put them.
I mean, you could even set them in a garage if you have a garage window, because that'll keep squirrels out of them.
It's true.
Yes, our tiny furry enemies. They'll decimate new growth like that. I mean, you can't just set them out on the porch because they'll wipe them out. But yeah, some places somehow they're protected. You can do one of those structures that are kind of enclosed in vinyl. It's like a baker's rack, but it's clear and it zips shut or something. You could do that as a hardening off.
Okay.
Probably even whether it was in the sun or not, I would think. But it's just a step to make them kind of go, whoo!
Yes.
We're outside now.
We're outside
So,
now. This is not the basement.
But then, you get some light through there, and then you also have some protection from birds and the like.
All right.
So, but I would bring them back in
Bring them back in.
at night if it's gonna. I mean, watch the temperature closely, and if you have a little greenhouse that freezes in the winter because it's so small and it maybe doesn't have, if it's like glass all the way to the ground, it's not going to hold much heat there. So a little greenhouse like that could be great for hardening off, but then you're going to have to still bring them back in.
Okay.
And until the weather's consistent
Gotcha.
in the 50s.
All right, we've got
We're gonna need
about
help.
3 minutes left. Let's do Jessica Elmore. She sent us a picture on Facebook. She said, "This needs help." She took this picture a few days ago and says, "It's not dogs. This tree is in an enclosed courtyard," and wants to know if you guys have any idea what's going on around the bottom area here. She's wondering if it's a fungus or if there are pests. So what are your thoughts?
They've got a hose there.
Looks otherwise healthy, just there around the bottom. Have either of you run into this before with any evergreens?
No, and if it's in an enclosed garden where you don't get like an enclosed courtyard,
Maybe.
I was going to say I've had squirrels damage my arbs before. I also had a question for her. If that's a green giant arborvitae, it's going to get way too big for where you have it.
Okay.
They're massive. I'm just saying now, while it's small enough to move, you might want to consider something you'll never be able to see out that window, ever. Not a snowball's chance in hell. So I'm thinking prune the dead off and see what happens. See if you get more, because I can't think of a disease that causes that.
Okay.
It just looks like maybe mechanical damage or
Critters, maybe.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the tree will sacrifice lower down to keep the new growth going, but of course you want an evergreen to be nice all the way down. So
Got it.
I would prune that off,
Do
even
prune
though
it.
it blends in with the brick. Don't do
Do
it.
prune it off and maybe look out for squirrels and see if they're the,
Yeah,
the
see what's
culprit.
going on. Make
Would
sure
you prune that now? Is it
I
okay to
would-
prune that now?
Yeah, it's dead. Anything dead comes off anytime it's dead. But make sure you have enough water there. Make sure you have enough drainage there. That's true. Usually water will indicate by yellowing and then brown. So,
Okay.
but
right.
yeah, see what happens. Really, if it's a green giant variety,
Might want to move it.
yeah, you have to move it.
Okie doke. All right, ladies, we are out of time. Thank you so much for coming in and bringing the seeds and chatting with me and helping me get my yard together at the same time. It does go quick. If you've got questions for our panelists, you can send them in to us at yourgarden@gmail.com or search for us on Facebook. Just look for Mid-American Gardener and post your questions there. And we will see you next time.
I'm
Good
just going
night.
to pick up beans. That's what I'm going to do.
She's going to pick up my beans.
Yeah.